Hey everyone, Kavemi here with another Reddit story. Today's is one of the most unbelievable sagas of family manipulation and hidden identity you'll ever hear. It starts with my own grandmother cruelly writing me out of her will because I'm gay, which led to a fierce courtroom battle. But 4 years after I won, a desperate visit from my estranged cousins brought a new revelation that changed my entire family tree. Settle in, enjoy the Minecraft in the background, and let's get into it. The title is My Homophobic Family Tried to Steal My Inheritance, but I won. Then I discovered my wife was my first cousin. My name is Leah, and I'm 32 years old. I live alone in what used to be my grandmother's house. Well, one of them. She owned 3 properties when she passed away 4 years ago, and through a complex series of events I still can't quite believe occurred, I ended up inheriting all of them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The doorbell is ringing again. It's persistent, desperate even. I'm not expecting anyone. My wife Joanna is at work and my friends always text before showing up. I walk to the front door, coffee mug still in hand, and peek through the peephole. My stomach drops. It's my cousin Veronica. And parked behind her, I can see my cousin Ethan's vehicle in the driveway. The same Ethan and Veronica who testified against me in court. The same ones who called me slurs at the funeral. The same ones who told the judge I was trying to take advantage of a sick old woman. I haven't seen them in 2 years. I open the door but leave the security chain locked. Just a crack. Enough to see Veronica's face, which looks nothing like I remember. She's always been polished, put together. Designer bags, perfect hair, the kind of confidence that comes from always having money. Now she looks utterly exhausted. Her hair needs washing. Her clothes are wrinkled. Dark circles under her eyes are barely concealed by makeup. Leah, she says and her voice cracks. Please, we need to talk. We have nothing to discuss, I say. Please, she repeats. It's critical. It's about family. I almost laugh. Family? That's rich coming from her. But curiosity wins, as it always does with me. I close the door, undo the chain and open it fully. Veronica practically stumbles inside. Ethan follows, and he looks even worse than she does. His suit, the one he likely wore to job interviews, is looking shabby. He won't meet my eyes. They stand in my foyer, the one with the chandelier Grandma Rose imported from Italy, and I can see them taking it all in. The restored hardwood floors, the antique furniture I had professionally cleaned, the original landscape paintings on the walls. Nice place, Ethan says quietly. It was Grandma's, I reply. Before she wrote me out of her will, remember? Veronica flinches. Good. Leah, She starts, stops and takes a breath. We need your help. I lost everything. The business failed, Michael clarifies. Veronica's house was foreclosed on 6 months ago. I'm living in my car. We have nowhere else to go. And you came here. I let the statement hang in the air. You fought for all of Grandma's money, her properties, everything. We're asking you to help us just until we get back on our feet. I set my coffee mug down on the entry table. Let me explain how I arrived at this moment. 4 years ago, my Grandma Rose was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She was 83 years old and had been the matriarch of our family for as long as I could remember. After my parents died in a car accident when I was 8, she raised me. Just me and her in this big house. And I loved her more than anything in the world. She knew I was gay. I came out to her when I was 16, terrified she'd reject me or disown me, or any of the horrible things I'd read about online. Instead, she hugged me and said, "Baby girl, I've known since you were 5 years old and insisted on marrying the neighbour girl in a pretend ceremony in the backyard. I love you no matter what." That was Grandma Rose, progressive, loving, accepting. She met Joanna, my girlfriend, and adored her, called her granddaughter-in-law, even though we weren't married yet. She made her feel like family. But when Grandma got sick, everything changed. My Aunt Diana, Veronica's mother, moved in to help take care of her. Diana had always been intensely religious, the kind who goes to church 3 times a week and quotes scripture at family dinners. I'd had maybe 4 meaningful conversations with her my entire adult life. Within 2 weeks of Diana moving in, Grandma Rose started treating me differently. I'd come to visit, and she'd be cold, distant. She stopped asking about Joanna. When I brought her by, Grandma barely acknowledged her presence. "Is everything okay?" I asked one day, pulling Grandma aside. "I'm just tired, sweetheart," she said. But she wouldn't look at me. 3 months later, Grandma Rose passed away. I held her hand when she died, and she didn't say anything, just squeezed my fingers once and closed her eyes. The funeral was a nightmare. My Aunt Diana planned it all, and suddenly there were extended family members I'd never met coming up to me, with looks of pity and disgust mixed together. Cousins I'd played with as a kid wouldn't make eye contact. Veronica cornered me at the reception. "You should be ashamed of yourself," she hissed. "What you put Grandma through in her final months." "What are you talking about?" I was genuinely confused. "Your lifestyle, your choices. Mum said Grandma cried herself to sleep every night, knowing you were going to hell." I wanted to throw my drink in her face. Instead, I walked away. The will reading was a week later. I sat in the lawyer's office expecting to inherit the house I'd grown up in. Maybe some of Grandma's jewellery, the pieces she'd always said would be mine. She told me dozens of times over the years that everything would go to me because I was the one who'd been there, who'd taken care of her before she got sick. The lawyer cleared his throat and read the will. Everything, and I mean everything, went to Diana. The house, the 2 rental properties Grandma owned, her investment accounts, her life insurance policy, her jewellery, her car, her furniture. The will explicitly stated that I was to receive nothing because I had turned my back on family values and chosen a sinful path that goes against everything this family stands for. I couldn't breathe. The room spun. Those weren't Grandma's words, they couldn't be. "When was this will written?" I managed to ask. 2 months before Mrs. Henderson passed away, the lawyer said, looking uncomfortable. 2 months, right around the time Diana moved in. I stood up and walked out. I didn't go to my apartment. I drove to the lakefront and sat in my car and screamed until my throat was raw. Joanna found me there 3 hours later. I texted her the basics. She held me while I cried and told me we'd figure it out. "This isn't right," she kept saying. "This isn't like her." And she was right. It wasn't. I spent 2 weeks in a fog, grieving Grandma, grieving what I thought our relationship was, questioning everything. Then Joanna came home with a business card. "I talked to my uncle," she said. "He's a lawyer. He wants to meet with you." "I can't afford a lawyer." "He'll work on contingency." "Leah, he thinks you have a case." Her uncle Richard Vance was a state litigation specialist. I met with him in his office, told him everything. He listened, took notes, asked questions. "Did your grandmother exhibit any signs of cognitive decline?" he asked. I thought about it. She was confused sometimes. She'd forget conversations we'd had. One time she called me by my mother's name. "And your aunt moved in right around the time the behaviour changed?" "Yes." He leaned back in his chair. "Leah, I think your grandmother was subjected to undue influence, possibly coercion. We can contest this will." "But she signed it. I said it's legal." "Legal doesn't always mean right, and there are grounds to challenge it. The timing, the complete change in her stated wishes, the fact that she was elderly and ill, and under the care of the person who benefited most from the new will. It'll tear the family apart," I said. Richard looked at me seriously. "It sounds like they already did that." So I filed the contest and all hell broke loose. Diana hired a lawyer, an expensive one. She filed a countersuit claiming I was slandering Grandma's name and trying to profit from her death. Veronica and Ethan both gave depositions claiming I'd been distant from Grandma in her final years, that I'd brought my lifestyle around her, despite her objections, that I'd made her uncomfortable and upset. They lied. They flat out lied under oath. The case took 18 months. 18 months of depositions, of gathering evidence, of watching my aunt and cousins paint me as some kind of predatory monster who'd corrupted their poor, innocent grandmother. But Richard was thorough. He found Grandma's old journals, the ones she'd kept for decades. In them, she wrote about how proud she was of me, how much she loved Joanna, how she wanted us to have the house after she was gone. The last entry before Diana moved in talked about updating her will to make sure I was taken care of. There were no entries after Diana arrived. Richard also found something else. Medical records that Diana had tried to keep sealed. They showed that in the 2 months before Grandma died, She was on heavy pain medication that could cause confusion and memory issues. The same 2 months the new will was written. He found witnesses too. Grandma's home health aide testified that Diana had isolated Grandma from visitors, that she'd heard Diana telling Grandma that I didn't love her anymore, that I was ashamed of her, that I'd moved away and started a new life that didn't include her. All lies. The aide said she tried to tell me once, but Diana fired her before she could. Finally, Richard tracked down the lawyer who drafted the new will. Under questioning, he admitted that Diana had been present for the entire meeting, that she'd done most of the talking, that Grandma Rose had seemed confused and kept asking where I was. He said he'd had doubts about her capacity to understand what she was signing, but Diana had pushed him to proceed. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I had to sit there and listen to my family describe me as manipulative, greedy, immoral. Veronica cried on the stand, talking about how Grandma had confided in her about her disappointment in me. She said she prayed every night that Leah would change. It was a massive performance. Grandma Rose hadn't prayed a day in her life. She used to joke that she was more spiritual than religious, and that organised religion made her itch. But I had to sit there and take it. Then it was our turn. Richard called the home health aide. He entered the journals into evidence. He brought in an expert witness on elder abuse and undue influence. He put me on the stand. I told the court about growing up with her, about the bedtime stories and the Sunday morning pancakes, about how she taught me to drive in her ancient Cadillac and laughed when I hit the mailbox, about coming out to her and her immediate acceptance, about bringing Joanna home and Grandma immediately planning our future wedding. Did your grandmother ever express disapproval of your relationship? Richard asked. Never, I said. Not once. The closing arguments took a full day. Diana's lawyer painted me as an ungrateful grandchild trying to overturn the wishes of a dying woman. Richard painted Diana as a manipulator who'd taken advantage of her sick, elderly mother for financial gain. Then we waited. The judge took 2 weeks to make a decision. When the ruling came down, I was at work. I was managing a small bookstore at the time, barely making rent on my tiny apartment. Joanna had picked up extra shifts at the hospital to help cover legal costs. Richard called me himself. Leah, he said, and I could hear the triumph in his voice. We won. We won everything. I had to sit down. My manager found me crying in the stockroom and thought someone had died. In a way, someone had. The version of my family I'd been desperately holding on to. The judge's ruling was scathing. He found clear evidence of undue influence and elder abuse. He invalidated the contested will entirely and reverted to Grandma Rose's previous will, the one she'd made 10 years earlier. That will left everything to me. All 3 properties, the investment accounts, the life insurance, everything. Diana had to vacate the house within 30 days. She was also ordered to pay back any funds she'd withdrawn from Grandma's accounts, which totaled over $100,000 she'd spent on expenses that looked suspiciously like designer clothes and a new car. The judge also ordered her to pay my legal fees. Veronica called me screaming. I let it go to voicemail. She said I was disgusting, that I'd stolen from a dead woman, that karma would get me. Ethan sent a text. Just one line. You've destroyed this family. I blocked them both. Diana tried to appeal. It was denied. She had to sell her own house to pay back the money and cover the legal fees. I inherited everything on what would have been Grandma Rose's 85th birthday. Walking into that house, the one I'd grown up in, knowing it was really mine, felt surreal. Diana had changed things, repainted, replaced Grandma's furniture with modern pieces, taken down the photos of me. I spent 6 months restoring it. I hired professionals to help me find Grandma's original furniture and storage. I repainted every room back to the colours she'd chosen. I hung up the photos of us. I made it home again. The rental properties provided steady income, enough that I could quit the bookstore and work on something I actually loved. I started a non-profit helping LGBTQ+ youth who'd been kicked out by their families. Grandma Rose would have loved that. Joanna moved in with me a year after the trial. We got married in the backyard, the same spot where I'd married the neighbour girl when I was 5. I wish more than anything that Grandma could have been there. I used some of the inheritance to set up a scholarship fund in Grandma's name. a full ride to college for LGBTQ plus kids from religious families. My Aunt Diana never spoke to me again. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd moved to another state, that she'd had some kind of breakdown after the trial. I didn't feel bad for her. Veronica and Ethan disappeared from my life completely. I saw occasional social media posts. Veronica had started some kind of consulting business. Ethan was working in finance. They looked successful, happy. I moved on, built a life, found peace. That was 2 years ago, and now they're standing in my foyer asking for help. Why should I help you? I ask Veronica now. You testified against me in court. You called me slurs at Grandma's funeral. You tried to take everything from me. We were wrong, Ethan says. We know that now. We were young and stupid, and we listened to my mum. Don't blame Diana. I cut him off. You were 25 and 23. Old enough to know better. Old enough to make your own choices. You're right, Veronica says. You're completely right. We were awful to you. But Leah, we're desperate. Ethan is literally living in his car. I've been staying in shelters. We have nothing. And you have 3 properties. I have 3 properties that Grandma Rose wanted me to have. The same properties you tried to keep from me. Please, Ethan pleads, just let us stay here for a few months. We'll pay rent as soon as we can. We'll do maintenance work, whatever you need. I look at them both, really look at them, and I see it. The desperation, the shame, the complete reversal of everything they thought their lives would be. Part of me, a small petty part, feels satisfied. This is karma. This is justice. But there's another part, the part that remembers being kids together, playing in this very house while Grandma made lemonade in the kitchen. The part that remembers Ethan teaching me to ride a bike. Veronica braiding my hair before school pictures. Before everything got complicated. Before Diana poisoned them. Before they chose hate over family. How did you lose everything? I ask. They look at each other. Veronica speaks first. The consulting business was a front, she says quietly. I was actually helping Mom with something. An investment scheme. It wasn't legal. When it got investigated, I lost everything. The house, my savings. Everything went to legal fees and restitution. My eyes widen. Diana ran a scam. She said it was fine. Veronica's voice is barely a whisper. She said, we deserve to make money after what you'd taken from us. I believed her. And you? I turn to Ethan. He runs a hand through his greasy hair. I made some bad investments. Took some risks. I was angry after the trial. Angry that you got everything. I wanted to prove I could be just as successful without family money. Instead, I lost everything I had. My job, my apartment, my savings, everything. And Diana? I ask. Prison, Ethan says flatly. 18 months. She's been out for 3 months now. She lives with her sister in Florida. I take this all in. Did you know? I ask. When you testified against me, did you know Diana had manipulated Grandma? Silence stretches between us. Finally, Veronica speaks. I suspected, she admits. Mum was always so controlling, and the way she kept you away from Grandma those last few months. It didn't feel right. But I told myself you deserved it for your lifestyle. I was raised to think it was wrong. And when Mum said Grandma was disappointed in you, I wanted to believe it. It made things simpler. Simpler, I repeat. The word tastes bitter. I'm sorry, she says, and now she's really crying. I'm so sorry. What we did was unforgivable. I know that. But I've had 2 years of my life falling apart to think about it. To realise how brainwashed I was, how hateful. I was wrong, Leah. I was completely wrong about everything. Ethan nods. Me too. I've had a lot of time sitting in my car at night to think about things. About how I treated you. About how I let Mom turn me into someone I'm not. Someone Grandma would have been ashamed of. I want to stay hard, want to turn them away, want to slam the door in their faces and let them figure out their own problems. But I can't, because despite everything, I hear Grandma's voice in my head. The real Grandma, not the one Diana created. Baby girl, she used to say. Being hurt by someone doesn't give you permission to hurt them back. The high road is lonely sometimes, but the view is better. I take a deep breath. I'm not letting you live here, I say. Their faces fall, but I continue. I own a rental property about 20 minutes from here. It's a 2-bedroom apartment. The current tenant just moved out. You can stay there rent-free for 3 months while you get back on your feet. They stare at me. I don't understand, Veronica says. 3 months? 3 months, I repeat. After that, you pay market rate rent. You keep the place clean. No drugs, no illegal activity, no drama. You get jobs. You get your lives together. And if you miss a single payment after those 3 months, you're out. Deal? Deal, Ethan says immediately. Why? Veronica asks. After everything we did to you, why would you help us? Because Grandma Rose would want me to, I say simply. Not the version Diana created, the real her, the one who believed in second chances and family, and doing the right thing, even when it's hard. And because you're right, we were family once. Before all this, maybe we can't go back to that, but maybe we can move forward to something different. That wraps up today's incredible Reddit story. Thanks for hanging out with me while we watched Leah deal with this ultimate test of forgiveness. Let me know in the comments what you thought of her final choice. Was giving them the apartment an act of kindness or a brilliant form of subtle revenge? And stick around for more stories with the usual Minecraft vibes in the background. I'll see you in the next one.